Hello, America. It's Penelope Pleather, and I'm here joined by Chris for our first ever interview, our first ever episode of the Penelope Pleather Show. Chris, how you doing today? Thank you for having me, Penelope. I'm really grateful to be here on daytime television. This is a first for me, especially to be talking about my clothes and stuff. This is really exciting. I'm really excited about this and what's to come of this. So, yeah, thank you. You are the designer of the year, 15 pieces, letters. Tell us a little bit more about that. Well, I don't know about designer of the year. Maybe the season. Maybe designer of the season. I don't know about designer of the year, but yeah, I can tell you a little bit more about Letters. So, Letters was incepted about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. I am someone who gets epiphanies, hence the name of my brand, Epiphany. I get these designs in my head, like full-fledged, whole ideas, designs. I don't have to think through it. Sometimes, I have to think through the details. But when it comes to the original idea, I get these epiphanies of these designs. Hence, I said that. And, it really just is a critique to all things professionalism, all things respectability, politics, what's professional for the office, what's deemed professional, what hairstyle is deemed professional, what hair color is deemed professional, all the things. It's really on that type of vibe, and it's very real and authentic. And it really highlights some of our human behaviors. And it's colorful, and it's aesthetic, and it's something to think about. It's something to consider. More so than just the clothes, it's something to look at the journey of the clothes. It's something to look at the story being told through the clothes. Apart from anything I say, it's whatever you get from it. You know what I mean? And also, it's available on Depop, Epiphany 444 on Depop. Oh, Depop. What's wrong with Depop? Nothing. Nothing, Chris, no. Well, that's lovely, Christopher. That's lovely. How do you feel about sustainability? I know that is a very serious topic in the fashion industry, especially with students and up-and-coming designers. I want to know your take on that, and how do you plan on implementing sustainability into your brand and in your future decisions as a designer? Thank you for that question, Penelope. And that's a very serious question, especially in the times that we're in. I think social media, and I think the way the media space is now, a lot more things are mobilized, a lot more things can be shared around the world. And recently, this past year, while I was in the middle of making my making letters, I saw this video. I think it was it was a slum. They call it a slum because that's what it is technically, definition wise, literally was a slum. And these people lived to work at this factory. They're dyeing the clothes, they're constructing the clothes, they're dealing with chemicals, doing all this stuff, putting their health at risk, all for someone to say they have a pretty piece of clothing. That's serious, yeah. And once I saw that, I was like, I already knew there were some non-ethical things about the fashion industry and stuff. But when I saw that really highlighted, that was just one minute little place, one slum, There are multiple factories out here making different clothing and stuff just for someone to say they have a cute outfit. You know what I mean? And sometimes I don't feel like that's worth it. And so for me, I have always been resourceful my whole life. That's like one of my superpowers. I can make something out of nothing. I'm an alchemizer. And so having as low of a budget that I have for this line, having the ideas that I have, I knew that I could pull something together. Sometimes I go into these ideas, I don't know how I'm going to put it together, but I a lot of times know what I want to put together, how I want to put it together, or I just allow myself the time, the rough drafting phase, where I'm getting the ideas, thinking about how I want certain stuff to look, and I also leave things up for interpretation, but not interpretation. I leave things up to be discovered. But within that, this line specifically, a lot of the pieces are upcycled. A lot of the pieces are sustainably sourced. For example, one of the pieces that I constructed myself, the one piece I did actually construct, I had gotten that denim from the thrift. It was raw, fresh, clean, never before used denim. And I was like, this is a steal. And so most everything in this line and in this project is vintage, thrifted, all the things except some of the materials like paint and different stuff like that, but for the most part been very sustainable source wise. And I appreciate a lot of one artists that take into account, the environment as whole, even the ones that have money, that have the budget, that don't have to, but choose to purposefully go out there and get those sustainable resources and those sustainable supplies to make their clothing. I feel like that's very important. And if these big brands ain't gonna do it, somebody gotta do it. I feel like a lot of smaller brands, we have more of a chance to think about these things and make these decisions on a smaller scale where it makes more sense. And it can make more sense on a bigger scale. I can't really tell you what that looks like right now, but yeah, I do continue. The more I learn about sustainable fashion, all this stuff, I do want to continue this trend of using more ethically sourced, more sustainably sourced materials and stuff for my clothing. Because you can give me some ugly fabric, I can make some out of it. Because, like I said, I'm resourceful. But yeah, thank you for that answer. Have you been approached by Vogue yet? No, I haven't been approached by Vogue just yet, but I'm open to a lot of different publications like Harper's Bazaar. I'm really in love with what they're doing right now with their cover shoots, their shoots in general, and even their social media content, and just any publication in America, internationally, worldwide. I'm open to, speaking with them about my clothing and learning more about their brand and seeing if we align and building partnerships with other brands too. Because Vogue is not the only publication out there. Vogue is not the only fashion publication out there. And I want to dip my toe in everything because who says I can't? Why can't I, So no, I haven't been approached by Vogue yet, but I am open to it and I would love to build a partnership with them. Thank you, Chris. Now I'm about to ask you a personal question. I'm gonna lean in a little bit. I want you to lean in a little bit with me when I ask you this. Are you gay? Well, yes, I am queer. I am gay. I'm queer gendered, and I am gay. I like men, although I'm consider myself more non-binary these days or queer gendered per se. I can still consider myself gay, I guess, because a lot of people do perceive me as a man. But yeah, however, I don't really know the relevance for this interview, why you would be asking me a question like that, and why you had to lean in for it, back up. No one's fits are out. Is the audience accepting? Everyone's accepting. That's not a hot topic. But I do love Penelope. I love me some men. I love tall men. I love short men. I love black men. I love rich men. I love poor men. I love me a good bicep. Just a good bicep. Yeah, whoa. But yes. But I didn't want to impose. I inserted there was a personal question. I understand. I do apologize about that. And you are a pretty attractive person. You're a very attractive person. I would like to know if you're partnered right now. Like, are you dating anyone? Is there anyone in Chris's world, Chris Land right now? Christopher Land? Like, what's going on with that? Thank you for the compliment. I consider myself attractive as well. I'm not, I don't consider myself everyone's cup of tea. But even so, I'm just not really in that space right now. I'm more so focusing on my career and what I'm doing with my clothing and building my brand. Not only my brand, but building just my identity in fashion and just really working on that rather than focusing on a man that, could be here tomorrow, gone the next. All the things. But yes, I'm mostly focused on my career, but I am a hopeful romantic, so I am open to that in the future, maybe, seeing what that looks like for me. But as of right now, until a man want to be intentional about me, I'm gonna stay right here, where I am with my clothes and my embroidery lube. Thank you very much. Oh my goodness. That makes plenty of sense. Yes, that makes plenty of sense to be focused on your career right now and all this and that. Like you're the top designer right now of the year or of the season, as I have to say. And I appreciate that answer, and I appreciate your openness and authenticity, Chris. I love that you decided to come onto my show, and I really appreciate our banter that we're having today. But I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room. I'm sure me and my audience would like to know about this big ass pimple on your forehead. Penelope, things like pimples, being plumper, being slimmer, all of these things are temporary or can be temporary. And I try not to focus on those things. I like to show up authentically. And if authentically I got a pimple today, I got a pimple today. And I really don't know how this is productive to the conversation. You trying to take digs at me and stuff. Especially seeing that your show isn't quite syndicated nationwide yet. You don't even show in every region of the U.S. and you're over here trying to read and give digs. Girl, get that show syndicated first. So I think we should move on to the next question. Yeah, please. Oh no, I'm so sorry. No offense, Chris. I didn't mean anything by it. We don't have to come at looks, We don't have to get on that type of vibe. It's just an interview. It's just chill out. It's not that serious. I promise it's not that serious. I apologize. I'm sorry. Let's move forward. Yeah, it's cool. Just watch it, please. Thank you. I apologize. I just thought everyone want. We're moving on. Okay, I got. Can you talk more to your experience with mental health and some of your inspiration for this collection? Actually, this is one of my favorite topics. It's been hot topic in like social media and like the national news, but more so for me too, especially learning more about mental health, learning more about different disorders and different stuff like that, just psychology in general. I realized that I had ADHD back in 2020 when I was in college and I was struggling and stuff. And so everything around then, it finally clicked. All the struggles that I had been going through my freshman year, especially in college, but my whole life, everything was starting to finally make sense. And I was just like, after that, I instantly felt like, wow, all these people that have to walk through life without a diagnosis, without knowing what's different about them, without knowing that, hey, I'm having to work a whole lot harder just mentally just to get through these things, or it's taking me a whole lot longer to focus and get through these things than it does everyone else. And I'm having to use a lot more brain power and a lot more things to try to sit down and focus as everyone else and things like that. And I also had bouts of depression, mostly stemming from a vitamin D deficiency. But I have felt very low lows. I have had struggled to get my stuff together in the past. Like I have had all the things. And so when in those bouts, what I noticed is with mental health and depression, sometimes it's like waves. Sometimes you up, you got peaks, and then sometimes you down, you got a little dip you gotta go through. But something I had to tell myself all the time is that this is temporary. This isn't gonna last forever. And I have control over my life. I can control what goes on in my life. And that's what I really wanted to accentuate in this line. And if you really look at the line in order, like if you go to my Instagram, c.a.h_4, and my design Instagram, epiphany_444 or epiphany444 or something like that, you will see like the story through the line, where like some pieces are very beautiful. Like the first piece we start off with, Dress for Success. It's a really cute piece. We're wondering like what's going on with this, whatever. The next piece also very cute, very colorful, all the things. And then the next piece we have Print Error, where it's just like print error is a piece, like a piece that like represents like trying to, get your stuff together one day, but you just ain't got it. Like you just failed, and you having a print error. Like you're trying to be perfect, you're trying to be corporate, you're trying to be professional, all the things, you just don't have it. And it's seeping through. No matter how hard you try, it's seeping through. And this is the first time in this line that we see like, oh, what's going on here? Why we having a print error? Why the paint looking like, what's going on? What's is like, and that was the first things like that. I did things like that to accentuate those low moments, or those moments of that we should take heed to our mental health. And we should look at the people around us and like take heed to them. And it's a visual representation sometimes of what's going on internally, or what's being experienced internally. Letters is, and then you got the pieces like Eminem, the Eminem jackets, where it's like they're pristine, they're like perfect in a sense. And for me, making them, I saw them as masks. Those were merely masks of perfection, that no one can obtain, no one is, but they represent the idea of perfection. But it's only a mask, and everyone is masking. But some people, like Mental Health Monday, some people like print error, they can't hide it. And then when we get to the transitional piece, it's like you're unraveled, you're letting everything out, you're not denying yourself your feelings anymore. You're just like, you're letting all your complexity come out, all the things that you've been bottling up, all the things that's been bothering you, keeping you down. You're expressing it and letting it out. I wish I had like a movie reference or something. I'm trying to think of something, but I can't think of nothing at this moment. But yeah, that's basically how mental health and this line kind of align. This collection kind of align. Thanks for that, Christopher. Now, we are about to go to break, and we'll be right back with our interview with Christopher Alexander. Please stay tuned. Hey, you. Yes, you. Buy the clothes, or I will find you. Okay, guys, we're back. And we're here with Christopher Alexander, the designer of the season. He just released his collection, Letters 2025, and we're here talking about it and some other stuff. Before the break, Chris went into this monologue and went into this thing about mental health as it pertains to his collection and what it means to him and the importance about those things. And I feel like we all know that that's very serious here in 2025. And Chris, I just want to thank you for that very vulnerable response. Okay, Chris, I'm going to read from this paper because this is my first show. I don't really have some of my stuff really memorized, and I want to sound eloquent. So let me read off this paper. We get a little ghetto around here. I'm sure you know what that means. Yeah. So, Chris, before the break, you went into some things about your struggles with mental health, and I appreciate your vulnerability. Thank you. I like being open and honest and authentic about things that happen in my life so that people can feel less alone. Because in those times that I was talking about, I felt alone a lot of times. And then one day I connected with some people and we all talked about our struggles. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm not the only person dealing with some of these struggles, real life struggles. Like, I'm not the only one. And that day I felt vindicated in that moment and justified, and my feelings felt validated by others, and I knew other people were going through it. I vowed then that, like, I'm going to be more open and honest just for connection purposes. And I feel like everyone should do that. Yeah. It is really cool that you are so open and authentic. I'm so glad that we live in a time where mental health, especially in your community, is talked about more and taken more seriously. What do you mean by my community? You know what I mean. You know, Penelope, I think we should move on. I feel like you're trying me again. Oh no, but no, in the sense that, question, please. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's bring it back up a little bit. What does someone as awesome, cool, and creative as you do for fun or leisure? And how does your everyday life feed into your process, your artistic process? For fun and leisure. I haven't known that for a while. I've been working, even though I haven't been working every single day, I have been thinking about this line every single day that it wasn't complete. I was thinking about it every single day, every single day. But for fun, let me think. I like to design things. Even apart from clothes, I like designing anything you can think of. I like making art. I like designing. I like graphic designing. I like graphic designing is so fun to me. I just like design. I like putting things together. I like I like alchemizing. Truly. I like collages. I like music and dance. I've always really loved music, and music has been an integral part with my line and me creating a line. When I post my posts, they have specific music that aligns with in my perspective, it aligns with the piece or wherever I'm trying to communicate or whatever vibe I kind of get. And I like I like watering my connections with friends, because I feel like we should be a lot more intentional with friendships, as intentional as we are with trying to seek romantic love and all that. I think we need to have that same intention and accountability when it comes to friendship and watering your friendships. Of course, I like thrifting. I like upcycling. I mean, I know it's my job, but it's also fun. I mean, I won't be doing, especially with my ADHD, with the way my ADHD set up. Some stuff I just can't do if I don't want to do it. But I love thrifting. I love upcycling. I love going to the thrift, looking at a piece, looking at like some basic little polo shirt, looking at some basic t-shirt and be like, how can I make this better? How can I make this cute for my wardrobe? Make this cute for me, you know? And I just love stuff like that. I love outdoor walks. I love a good morning walk. It gives me time to think, flesh some ideas out, and just connect with nature a little bit. Look at the grass, look at the birds, look at the squirrels, look at the butterflies. Hence the butterfly on that Maxi Mania. That is like I think that's a cloudless sulfur butterfly, and that's what inspired that butterfly because I saw it and it just, I'm a little woo woo, as people like to say, and like I take certain things as signs, and I like butterflies. And I like sunflowers and all the things. And that's where those elements come into play, is from my morning walks. And I have more ideas just from being out in nature. Not even just full-fledged in nature, but just taking walks on my streets, And I don't live in an area where we don't have trees. We have like a little woodsy areas kind of close, and we have trees and stuff. So I see a little bit more nature than some people in more metropolitan areas. But I love it. I truly love it. As far as inspo though, I'm really inspired by 70s fashion right now, and 70s looks, and just some of the minimalisticness and some of that grandiosity as well of the 70s, and just that funness, that carefreeness. People carried themselves with a certain je ne sais quoi back then. People spoke certain ways back then. And that's just something that I love and appreciate and have been really delving into. And I like the colors. I like the experimentation. I like that people could wear what's considered more gaudy now then, and it just was cool and it was cute and it was fashionable. And now I'm trying to bring some of that back. And also the 2020s. I love that in the 2020s we're amalgamating all of fashion's history and all of the little trends and stuff. They're all amalgamized into now with our current innovations as well. We're mixing that. We got stacked jeans with the bell bottoms, with the skinny jeans. They all exist now in this multiverse of fashion, and I really love that. Politics. I'm very passionate about politics. I'm very passionate about people's rights and different things like that. And that kind of shows up in my art as well, because I feel like art can be political and art should be political when you live in America. and when you're Black in America. It doesn't have to be, but if you're being realistic, if you're being authentic, it's gonna bleed over a little bit because it's in your life. How does it not come out in your art? That's just me saying it, though. That's great, Chris. I love that for you, and I love that you didn't give me a mundane answer. You know, some people like to say, I like to eat, I like to sleep. You know, all the ghetto, ratchet, just basic, low education answers. And I'm glad you gave me a more full-fledged answer. And I feel like me and the audience know a little bit more about you now because of that. Thank you for that. The prices. Let's talk about the prices. Why are the prices so pricey? And what exactly is your target audience? I don't get this question often, but I know people think it. The prices are the prices because I said so, essentially. But truly and honestly, that was me just joking. But truthfully and honestly, hours upon hours go into these pieces. And so how I price my items is get my rate, whatever I feel like I'm worth an hour, and I multiply that by the amount of hours I put into a piece. And that's just how I'm doing it right now. And I feel like that's pretty fair. I feel like that's a pretty fair way of pricing it. And I can give an explanation if somebody wants an explanation because I have a rhyme and reason and a way of pricing things. So it's not just like because I said so. But it should be because I just said so. And my target audience is just people that connect with the art. Not always people have to buy it. I would really love if people, paid and bought my art and wore it. That is my dream, for people to just wear my art, take pictures in my art, dance in my art, live in my art, love in my art. My target audience are people my age, not even just people my age, because in marketing and teacher, like, you have some age ranges that you may want to market to. I market to anybody that wants to be authentic. I market to anybody that sees my clothing, connects with it, and wants to wear it for whatever purpose they see fit, whatever makes them feel the most confident and authentic, because that is my goal at the end of the day. So yeah, thank you for that. That was very full. That was very, again, articulate of you. A very well fleshed out answer, and I feel like you really gave a good perspective on how you see things, and it really highlighted for me. It made the prices make more sense. You know what I mean? Because I feel like as like the viewers, the consumers, we sometimes see artists and we see that big price, we see that number, and we're like, why does this justify that? And I'm glad you really explained that for us, and you gave us a better explanation for at least you and your work, why the price may be what the price is. And I feel like we should all respect that. Clap if you feel like we should respect artists and their prices, and you believe that the price is the price. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So, Chris, are you going to make us wait another year for another collection or whatever is going on with you? Are you going to make us wait so long as you did with letters? What's next for Epiphany? And again, could you reiterate for the audience and for my broadcasters and for the TV on my show, where can we shop letters? No, you're not going to have to wait another year and a half, 2 years for some more stuff from me. I'm trying to work on this thing, whatever ad is. I want to maybe flesh that out a little bit, see what that is. But even apart from that and just collections in general, I want to just get back to my one-off, one-of-one little pieces, putting stuff together, working on my pattern design, working on my sketching, and working on all these things, because I am self-taught. I am an independent designer and stuff. So, like, I just really want to work on my skills right now and just practice. And then that practice things can go up for sale on Depop, like you like to joke about. But yeah. Ain't that what y'all do? Period. All right. Chris, I want to thank you for this interview. I just have one more question. Then we're going to play a little game. Is that cool with you? Yes, that's cool with me. I love games, actually. me. I thought so. I thought so. You know, niggas love get. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I sneezed a little. All right, cool. Can you tell us about your favorite piece of the collection, if you have one, and why? I actually do have a favorite piece from the collection, or favorite pieces, should I say. I just simply love the M&M pieces. I call them M&M because the little buttons, beads look like M&Ms. So I just want to tell the story really quick. I know this has been a little long, but I went to this what do you call them? One of those like stores that sells like old stuff, old vintage. Like I went to a vintage shop, and this like I'm looking all around, not really seeing nothing. I'm seeing little cute stuff, but not nothing that's really catching my eye. And then I see this jar of beads and buttons that are metal and stuff, and I'm like, these are cute. They reminded me of the little Singer logo. I don't know if that was conscious or subconscious at the time, but I was like, these are cute, and I want to use these for something one day. I didn't know what, but I knew I wanted them, but I didn't have a lot of money that day. So I was just like, I didn't have no money at all. I was really just window shopping. So I left out of there. And then some weeks went by, and then I was at the thrift. And then I saw this denim jacket. And I was just wondering about some things I can do with some denim, like a denim blazer. I want to do something with a denim blazer all of a sudden. My epiphany started to come in. I was starting to think, like, what do I want to do with this? And then I got the idea. Those buttons, denim jacket. And that was the first conceptualization of anything having to do with letters. I didn't even think about a collection yet. I was trying to think about, like, how can I expand this? Can I maybe do like a skirt too, or like two skirts to go with the blazers, because I had just did the I also had the idea of the corporate baddie in my head. I had that idea flowing up there as well. But I was just like, I wonder what I can do with this. Eventually, I went back to that vintage shop and I bought those. I went in there and I was like, "Hey, you know those buttons that was in there?" And the lady was like, "What buttons? What buttons?" I'm low key like screaming in the inside because those buttons were so freaking cute. And then we're looking around trying to find them, but we're not seeing the buttons. And she has a workstation because she's also an artist in like the back corner of her vintage shop, and she went over there. And she grabbed it off the shelf. And she was like, these right here? And I was like, yes. And she started laughing. We both started laughing because she was like, these were just something I bought for my art. Just something that I had around. These were not for sale. I thought they were for sale. She had them with the rest of the stuff. And so she ended up selling to me for like $5, $10, $15, something like that. I was like, girl, you running a tough bargain for something that you got for real cheap, but I really want these buttons. And she knew that. So I went on and got the buttons. And so that's how that idea even came to be. It's truly one of one. And if anybody ever find them buttons, let me know. I hope it's like them #1 hats in SpongeBob where they end up finding a dumpster full of them, because I want more of them. I love those buttons. I wish I could make them my signature. What's your favorite, Penelope? What is your favorite piece, from the collection? I know you're very opinionated. You're into fashion. What is your favorite piece, and why do you like that piece? Chris, I think my favorite piece in the collection, I really do appreciate that answer, because I do love your collection. I'm not just here interviewing you just because, I'm trying to get publicity and stuff, because you're just so hot right now. But I genuinely do have a piece, and that my piece is the transitional piece, the final piece, that pinstripe suit. It's just something about it. I know you were talking about like you like collages and stuff, and I can really see that coming through in that piece specifically. And I just really love that there are so many messages, yet there aren't any messages, yet there are very clear messages, and that you get inspiration from so many things. And I just appreciate when someone can have some fun with their art, you know what I mean? And with that, I just can't wait to see what you will do next. With this being a transitional piece, like transitional meaning like for the next line, correct?
Well, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you're gonna do with that and how you're gonna flesh that out, like how you did with the your favorite piece, the Eminem suit jackets, the blazers. I just can't wait to see how you flesh this idea out as well, and I think that's gonna be really interesting and really fun. Yes, yes, Chris, I live for you. I love that, Penelope. And I thank you. I thank you. Okay, now for the game. I want you to say the first word, few words, or phrase that comes to your mind when I say these words. Simple, right? Are you ready? Okay, let's get into it. Denim. Ancestral. Red. Lip. Palestine, Congo, and Sudan. Freedom. Period. Donald Trump. Art. Essential. Beautiful. Beyonce. Call me. Doja Cat. Call me. Destin Conrad. Call me. SZA. Call me. Doechii. Call me. Yeah, call me. Chloe Bailey. Miss Bailey, if you're nasty. Call me. Depop. Epiphany 444, of course. Of course. Microwave. Toaster. Style. Subjective. Appreciated. And personal. Trends. Fading. And finally, collaboration. Open. Period. Oh my goodness. Yes, this has been lovely. And I thank you, Chris, for coming on. I really appreciate you and all your hotness. I know you're cool and hot right now and fresh. And I just really appreciate you blessing and coming and christening the Penelope Pleather show. Thank you for having me, Penelope. I really enjoyed this interview outside of you trying me. But I would love the opportunity to come back here and, update your audience and if you continue to have an audience, if you get that little syndication, And, just keep y'all up to date on all things Epiphany and all things I'm up to and maybe even some things about me. And again, I thank you, Penelope, for this opportunity. Okay, audience, I have an announcement. With our broadcast, we're also going to open up a podcast. We're going to open up the Penelope Pleather podcast. I'm going to be talking about fashion, trends, what I'm liking, shows I've seen, all things fashion. And I'm so glad Chris is here to introduce our visual format. But for the most part, we're about to delve into this podcast because I really want y'all to hear my voice. I don't want y'all to keep seeing my pretty face. I want y'all to hear my voice and I want y'all to hear my perspectives. And the podcast space is really cool right now. And I just want to sink my teeth in and get into that, if you know what I mean. So Chris, yes, I want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate everything you've said today, even a little shade and cattiness, we move forward or whatever. But yeah, I really appreciate that. Yes. Alright, so this is the first episode of Penelope Pleather, and I hope to see you guys soon in listening form. So I hope you guys hear me soon. Thank you all, and have a great night, America. Oh, that bitch. Yeah, how he gonna come on my show talking shit about me? Like, what? What is that? Oh. Designers. I can still hear you, right?